Every person has a story, and every experience has a lesson. This is Limitless Minds, where we talk to our Cal alumni, be it scientists, artists, educators, professionals, and much more, and all to uncover the pivotal moment that shaped their lives. I'm Tanish Shinoy, your host, and together we'll be exploring their triumphs, challenges, and defining experiences. Let's get started. Welcome back to Limitless Minds, the podcast where Cal alumni drop the real, raw lessons behind their journey. And we try to make sense of how they got from campus to clarity. I'm your host, Tanish Shinoy, a freshman at Cal and a teen founder who's learned the hard way that money, it isn't just about numbers. It's about fear, freedom, and sometimes trauma. Which brings me to today's guest. Because honestly, when I first read her title, I had to double check it. She's a certified financial therapist. Yep, you heard that correct. A financial therapist. Meet Mariah Hudler, founder of Koru Financial Therapy, one of California's pioneers in this field, and someone who blends trauma healing with the focus on finances in the most grounded, human way possible. Mariah, welcome to Limitless Minds. I am super excited to have you here today.
Thank you, Tanish.
Thank you for joining me, and I would definitely love to know about your journey. What is a financial therapist?
So a financial therapist is someone who looks at the cognitive, emotional, social, and psychological aspects of money. And yeah, like you said, it's beyond the numbers. It's the emotions that are related to money.
What normally people hear about therapists and all. So what does your day-to-day life look like in terms of your work?
Yeah, so because financial therapy is still quite new, not a lot of people know about financial therapy. So the people that do contact me are people that are looking for someone to help in that area. So typically they've seen an article or they've read something or they've gotten some question about, whether it could be around, impulse spending or avoidance or money conflicts in relationships, that they start to reach out and look at what kind of support can I get with this. So then they reach out to me and I have a discussion about, what would it look like if our work together was successful.
I see, a lot of people definitely have a lot of spending habits. They want to make sure that they get out the way. They don't have it become a bad habit. At the same time, they want to make sure that they're doing the right thing. So first of all, I want to ask, what type of people do you typically work with? And what do they usually ask when they're there?
Sure. And I work with individuals, couples, and entrepreneurs mostly. I do have a lot of people that come with money avoidance. So I could even say myself, I'm a recovering money avoider. And what does that look like? This is avoiding paying bills or opening up bills. It can be avoiding and paying taxes. I currently have quite a few on my caseload right now that have delayed paying taxes. And it's not what you would typically think of. The rational mind is very much alert and knows that these things have to occur, but the emotional mind is so much stronger. And there's something, whether it's guilt, shame, embarrassment, that prevents them from following through on that.
A lot of times people, they're they want to do something about it, but then they're oh, how will it affect me? I know there are a lot of people who I meet that they're really good with finances and all and stuff, but they're somehow still anxious. And there are a lot of people who are just let loose, so much fun and all, but then they're kind of broke sometimes.
Yeah, so you can have a money identity, a money personality, and you can start to see that early in childhood, between savers and spenders. You can have kids in the same family, but someone who very much spends the money that comes into them, or another one who just saves their money up for a rainy day.
And now let's rewind a bit to when you were growing up and your childhood.
Yes. Okay, so there was definitely this has been something that I've struggled with myself. So like I said, I'm a recovering money avoider. What does that mean? Well, our family experienced divorce and I was around the age of 7. So my mother became the primary financial caregiver for the family. This was a role she wasn't necessarily ready to take on, but was capable of taking on. But with that came a lot of stress, and keeping house, food, schooling, all of those things caused a lot of stress in the household. And she went into a mode of like, I have to make this happen. I, would do anything for my girls. So, but what came down to us was the messaging of like how stressful it was. Money, working full time, like the things that we wanted to do, extracurricular activities, were just not available to us because we were on a very, very tight budget. So yeah, we call it, what I experienced was some money scarcity. And that has an impact for later in life, right? Things like avoidance, undervaluing, lower self-esteem, those things can show up as a result of money scarcity. Some more extremes of like, if impoverished, can be lead to very impulsive, like this misunderstanding that there's just never gonna be enough money. So just live in the moment.
So now fast forward to the time you're doing your MSW at Cal. Like, you were in Cal, and then a few years down the line, you go to New Zealand with a powerful role in healthcare, and then you come back to the US. What was that like, and what made you move there and back?
Good question. While I was at Cal, I lived at International House, and I had lived abroad prior to that, so that is what interested me in living at International House. When finishing up my grad program, I knew that I wanted to do a little bit more traveling, but after talking with some Kiwis, which are New Zealanders that were living at the International House, they said you could actually come and work in New Zealand. So I packed up everything after graduation and hopped on a flight to New Zealand, applied for some jobs, and landed my first medical social work role in New Zealand. And then through there started a 7-year journey. Initially it was going to be 1. But I will tell you, New Zealand is a wonderful place to live and to be part of the culture. They have a bicultural community, the Maori and the Pakeha are the English. And it was just such a wonderful, nurturing environment. And I got to do quite a few things, even in my profession. So I started at the hospitals there. I transitioned into program as a direct line social worker, medical social worker, and then transitioned in program development, and then ultimately ended up in a director role. Following doing an MBA, an executive MBA, while I was there in New Zealand at the University of Waikato, that I really just didn't enjoy at the end of it. It was a director role and it felt soulless and disconnected from where I really wanted to be and where I felt I had the most influence, which was working directly with people. So that combined with, I wasn't expecting to continue to live in New Zealand, although I'd, bought a house and was pretty much set there. I started realizing that I could always return to New Zealand, but I could not get the time back with my family back here in the States. So I made the decision to make my way back to the United States. And that was
Wow.
back to the US.
Wow, that's a really inspiring story.
Yeah.
Okay, now about money, myths, and behavior. What are some of the common patterns you see, like behaviorally and emotionally, with the people you work with?
Yeah, so I do see a lot of, concerns or like financial stress, anxiety related to like shame and guilt, right? So what does that mean? So what can that look like? So if someone is, maybe it's stress or something at work or a feeling of not being good enough or worthy enough, they may spend as a result of that. And it can lead to just ongoing concern, ongoing things of debt.
So I know that a lot of people come in with different behaviors and emotions, but I know you oftentimes might see a common pattern between a lot of people and their spending habits. So let's say if I were to come in, I'm an entrepreneur who's really successful, makes a ton of money, but I'm pretty rigid on how I spend and only spend a lot or anything if I really need it, and I want to let loose. How would you help me with that?
Well, that's a great question. And yes, so I do see that often with my clients. What I would do to support you through that is to help you to recognize what is happening with you in the moments that you have that conflict of like, I will purchase this because I need it, but not necessarily because I want it. So we would look at what comes up for you. We would look at physically, like where do you feel that in your body? Like when you're going, I have the money for it, but I go straight to saying no. So we would recognize where that came up in your body and what makes you stuck. And then we would do some skill building around that to make sure that you can be open, be present, and do what matters most to you.
Awesome. That's really something a lot of people need to learn. And speaking of something that people should hear, what's a money myth that you wish would not exist anymore?
I think a myth that I often hear is that money is hard, right? Money is not hard in any capacity. It's really what's stopping you is what's setting you back from like engaging in it. Doing some work around what is stopping me will make the next step so much easier in terms of learning about money, being open to building a network, talking about money, and building a life that's truly wealthy in both a financial and a mental well-being way.
Awesome. So remember you said this isn't just a business, it's a movement. So based on that, what type of movement are you trying to create through financial literacy?
Yeah, so I'm trying to help others. I mean, I've intertwined throughout the years with social work. It is a paid profession. So I'm trying to instill not only in others, but colleagues that the value that we provide others, our skills are very numerous, and that we should expect more for the work that we provide others. Equally, I take that directly to my clients. Like I very much want them to honor who they truly are as a person, align with their values, and show up in the world in that way. And that includes how their relationship with money.
Wow. And speaking of relationship with money and honoring who they are, like if you were to create a legacy for your clients, your family, or even your past self, how would it be?
Yeah, this is definitely not a business. Like obviously I am someone that will continue to do this work endlessly, and it may look in different ways, but I definitely want to inspire others or help others on their journey to emotional and financial liberation, especially those that have been left out of the conversation. So from whether it's like a personal, systemic, cultural, societal aspect, that honoring or really harnessing their money story and then honoring that and breaking any generational patterns or systemic patterns, I want to walk alongside them.
So your legacy really touched my heart a lot, and I see that you really care about a lot of people. So now we're on the final part of the podcast, which is our rapid fire round, where you have 1 minute to answer all the questions I ask you.
Let's do it. Yep.
All right. What is one therapy essential? Tissues, tea, or whiteboard?
Tea.
All right. One book that shifted your mindset?
Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robbins.
Love that. What's one spot on campus at Cal that doesn't exist anymore, but was considered the place back when you were there?
Pass.
A money myth that you feel needs to go away?
I'm not worth it.
All right. What's something your son has taught you?
Being in the moment, slowing things down.
Nice. What's a self-habit that's really underrated?
Thinking, planning, and organizing.
All right. Straight to the point. If not a therapist, what is one thing you'd be doing as a career?
I would definitely be in the FBI.
What's one word that defines your current mission?
It would be empowerment.
Love that. And well, that wraps up our rapid fire round. Thank you for joining me on this podcast, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Well, thank you so much, Nish.
All right. Mariah, I want to say thank you so much for all of your insights. You've given us a brand new language to understand ourselves and about our money. To everyone who's listening, this episode, it isn't just about wealth. It's about well-being, If your relationship with money ever felt confusing, heavy, or it wasn't you, share this with someone who actually needs it and help them take their first step to rewrite that story. I'm Dennis Shinoy, and this is Limitless Minds. Stay curious, stay empowered, and remember, if you don't start now, someone else will. Thank you, Mariah, for this wonderful episode, and thank you everyone for watching.
Every story is a lesson, and every challenge is an opportunity. Success, it looks different for everyone, but growth, it's universal. Thanks for joining me here on Limitless Minds. Until next time, I want you to stay curious and remember to stay limitless. Because if you don't start now, someone else will.